The views and opinions expressed by the individuals in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of its producers, Metaphor Creative Media, its management, or affiliates.
As police officers, we're witness to some of the most amazing things in life. Some comical, some horrendous, and some just plain miraculous. When asked why you went into law enforcement, most officers will tell you, because it's like having a front row seat to the greatest show on earth. Today, we saved you a front row seat. This is Copservations.
From Broadcast Beat Studios in Oakland Park, Florida, Metaphor Creative Media presents a show that gives you a personal glimpse of what law enforcement officers see and do in their typical and not so typical day of work. From walking the beat to detective, Rob has 35 years of law enforcement experience. Although the staff are all active or former law enforcement, any views, opinions, and all other show content are in no way official views, statements, or policies of any law enforcement agency. To talk to our host, call the podcast studio toll-free at 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677.
Hello and welcome to Copservations, your front row seat to the greatest show on earth. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anthony. I am one of the show's creators and producers. Rob was supposed to be back this week, but he has some personal issues he's got to attend to tonight. So you're stuck with me again. And Rob, I just want you to know we're thinking about you. And we hope things work out. We're sure they will. And we hope you come back real soon. Let's see. We're going to try letting you know that today we're trying something a little bit different. We're kind of controlling things from here in the actual podcast room, because we're a little shorthanded, thanks to my kids. But we're going to try to keep the format that we started last week as well, by adding the control room to each episode, where tonight my partner and co-producer, Danny, say hi, Danny. You should have a picture of you up there in case you don't know how to control the TriCaster yet.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure it out.
Danny's controlling the ship from inside the control room all by himself, so he's wearing a lot of hats. So, Danny, make sure the camera's on you when you're switching the hats and you're jumping like to the audio and to the phones and all that. So
I'll decide what the camera's on.
Well, like I said, that's one of the advantages of being the creative developer and the guy who formats the show. So tonight, this should be really fun tonight. So I want a lot of people to call in so that Danny's goes off his mind, out of his mind, can't do the TriCaster and loses his... The show is broadcast live every Thursday night, 7 p.m. Eastern on Facebook, YouTube, and now on the Twitter page at Copservations_. We're broadcast from the Broadcast Beat Studios, our lovely studios. We love them so much here. Located in Oakland Park, Florida. And if you ever get a chance to come on down and tour the studio, it's a great place. Ryan does some great tours and stuff, and there's a lot of really good things we got going on here. Here on Copservations, we attempt to give you a personal glimpse of what law enforcement officers go through on a daily basis. We also talk about recent events, happenings, and the latest hot topics pertaining to law enforcement that not only affect officers, but you, the general public, as well. If you have any comments, questions, or a story you'd like to share, join the conversation by giving the podcast studio a call toll-free at 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677. And it is toll-free, so you have no excuse to call. It's not costing you anything. Call from anywhere in the country, toll-free. That means no money, no moolah. You can also instant message your questions and comments live during the podcast on our Copservation Facebook page. Give Danny some time to see the comments and stuff because, like I said, he's wearing a lot of hats tonight. And we should have some carpet wear in the carpet in the control room from him going back and forth. I'm joined tonight by the show's co-host, Gary Dickinson. Gary, it's great to see you again.
Good to be here.
Yeah, it's we're gonna have a lot of fun tonight. It's gonna be.
I took a little sabbatical, so.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. So we have a show full of challenges tonight, I would say. What do you think?
It.
Yeah, we'll be all right. We'll be all right. So tonight we're going to talk about some really interesting topics that are near and dear to me and Gary, as law enforcement officers, and things that aren't discussed enough, and that a lot of people don't have any. There's a misconception about a lot of the stuff that goes on. So we definitely want to touch on those tonight. So, but if you didn't get to tune into last week's show, you missed a very informative conversation where we discussed countering violent extremism with our guest Nizar Hamzi, a deputy sheriff whose background includes extensive research, study, and specializing in CVE, countering violent extremism. Deputy Hamzi discussed the importance of law enforcement and the implementation of countering CVE with community policing, and how he works hand in hand with the Department of Homeland Security as a subject matter expert, traveling all around the world and training other governments and law enforcement agencies how to work together. It was a really great show, so if you missed it, if you missed last week's Countering Violent Extremism episode or any of our other episodes, you can catch up on the show by going to the Copservation Podcast YouTube channel, where you'll find all of our previous episodes. Lots of some funny ones there, some good ones that I like to go back and play every once in a while when I'm doing my show prep and stuff in the studio and stuff, like Richie's stuff. That's always a fun one. So tonight's topic is interacting with law enforcement. And Gary and I are going to discuss how the public interact with law enforcement officers under different circumstances, as well as our own experiences, right, Gary, of interacting with the public, as law enforcement officers, how we interact, how the public interacts with us. So before we do that, as is custom with the show format, I'd like to touch on some recent events in the news pertaining to law enforcement and discuss them a little bit more in depth before we move on to tonight's topic. So the first thing that's up is just very fresh and recent. The two students that were shot and killed, two that are dead at a California high school after a classmate unloaded a semi-automatic pistol. The student gunman was dressed in black, opened fire at the Saugus High School in Los Angeles County on his 16th birthday. He killed two students and injured three others before turning the gun on himself. His empty .45 caliber semi-automatic pistol was recovered at the scene. Officials described the slain student as a 14-year-old boy and a 16-year-old girl. They said the shooter was in grave condition after he was finally identified as the sixth student found wounded in the quad. Investigators quickly focused their attention on an address about a mile from the school that traced back to student Nathaniel Burhow, a cross-country runner whose parents divorced in 2016 and whose dad passed away in 2017. Freshman Rosie Rodriguez told the Associated Press the gunfire sounded like balloons popping. So it wasn't until she saw other students running that she realized that this was happening. Still carrying her heavy backpack, she ran across the street to a home where a person she didn't know gave shelter to about a dozen students. "I just heard a lot of kids crying. We were scared," Rodriguez said. On a normal day, she said, Saugus High School felt very safe. "We really never thought this would happen in our school," she said. Which is one of the first things I want to talk about. The last line in that story. We never thought it would happen in our school.
Yeah, but it's almost always one of their current students, fellow students.
Right.
Somebody should have saw something wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. Almost always one of their students. And absolutely somebody. There are some signs out there people miss. Some people blow off as he's just a prankster, he's just a jokester, My biggest concern is that one of those, the comments always seem to be, we never thought it would happen to us. And not just in school shootings. I mean, but in all kinds of cases that we deal with every day as law enforcement officers. I never thought that would happen to me. My child got kidnapped. My child got killed. I never thought that would happen to me. Not in my family. Not my child.
I kind of felt that same way when my brother got killed. And he, of course, he was a law enforcement officer. But a lot of us cops, I think, sometimes like to think that way so we can keep going. But then we also realize we have to survive, and we know that survival is training.
Yep, training. That is the key to survival. But I understand that people will think that. But so how do we counter that? I mean, how do we prepare people to stop thinking not in my school, not what happened to my child? What do we do?
You would hope that by now, seeing all these school shootings, that this would just sink in somewhere. But apparently it doesn't. But we're also dealing with young kids. 14-year-olds don't think like a 35-year-old person.
Right.
They go to school every day, happy-go-lucky, and that's what they're supposed to do. They're not supposed to think about this kind of
Exactly.
stuff. But nowadays they have to.
Exactly. So, listen, I'm not one of the people who have to decide what they got to do to try and deal with it and figure out the balance between, preparing people and getting people out of the mindset that that it will never happen at your school, but when will it happen at our school?
Yeah,
Listen, I had kids that went to school every day. I fear. I mean, we, how it is down here in South Florida, and there's incidents at school, and we get the phone calls, the robocalls. Oh, there was an incident at the school, and just like every other parent, even as a police officer.
Right.
Oh my God, what happened at the school? And then you're trying to call, friends of a friends, or pull your friend card. Hey, what happened at the school? Can you tell me? Whatever. Been there, done that. But in reality, putting up the blinders is not going to rectify the situation and stop it from happening.
No.
It's going to happen. When is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen? And this is where we need to attack it. We need to attack it there. When is it going to happen? Where is it going to happen?
Well, hopefully in the future, in the very near future, we're going to hear more about security in California at the schools.
Hopefully.
We have pretty good security in Florida now, I noticed.
Well, we do and we don't. I mean, it's a very, like I said, it's a very fragile balancing act. One of the biggest things is you're going to have to pour money into it because you're going to have to get the people there that need to be there. And I'm not saying that because people want to make a ton of money securing a school. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
The money needs to be put there. Somebody needs to put the money there and then fill in the spots with the money. And if the money runs out and we don't have enough, we don't piecemeal it together. We get more money and we fill the spots.
Well, I noticed
the kids
that,
have to be protected at the school.
Recently, I saw an article where the police departments across Florida are jumping through hoops because they have a deadline on the law that says that you will have security in the schools, and they're trying to get people hired and trained in time.
Yeah, and it's a very big challenge. Plus, you got to keep guys on the road. You got to keep guys on the road protecting the general public. So how do we counter that? I mean, is it a private, is it the actual school board police or whatever? And where we live, they have their own police agency, the schools.
Right.
So is that the answer? I mean, I don't know. It's there somewhere. I don't know what the answer is. I don't make I don't have to try and figure it out. Thank God. But somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to figure out a solution or start the ball rolling, at least in that way, to start getting results. Save the children. That's the bottom line. On our next story, it's going to be, the city of New York. This story isn't brand new, but it's a story that pertains to schools, since we're on that subject. And matter of fact, Danny had brought it up to me, and I was flabbergasted when I read it, when I was doing the show, because I didn't hear anything about it. I mean, everything going on in today with the schools and everything, school shootings, and you have one in California now. And this story that I read was the last thing I expected to read. So, the City of New York Department of Education, it inked a new agreement with the New York City Police Department, the first in more than 2 decades. And you would think that would be good. You hear those words, that's awesome, right?
Well, they probably don't want them arresting anybody in the schools, in New York.
It goes a little bit further than that. So, the deal will curtail the role of police in schools. The Memorandum of Understanding dictates that the police department's authority over school safety officers across the city limiting their roles and signaling a significant break. My teleprompter is flashing on me. Told you it'd be a show of challenges as I control it from my desk here. So anyway, the limiting their role and signaling a significant breakaway from zero-tolerance policies that civil rights activists have long contribute to school-to-prison pipeline. The new agreement represents a major shift in school discipline practices that should curtail the harmful impacts of school-to-prison pipeline and make school a safe place, supportive place to learn, particularly for students of color. Donna Lieberman, executive director at the New York City Civil Liberties Union, says, "For too long, New York City public school students have had to face an overly punitive disciplinary system that treats them as criminals."
Who is that? The Criminal Liberties Union?
It is the executive director at the New York Civil Liberties Union.
Oh, I thought you said Criminal Liberties Union.
No, I didn't.
Okay.
I don't think I did. Did I say that, Danny? I didn't say criminal.
No, maybe I did.
Okay. So it said that even as elementary school students, the disciplinary student system treats them as criminals. In 2017 and 2018, Black and Latino students represented 67% of the student body, but accounted for 88% of the arrests and 92% of the summonses in schools, according to the NYCLU. They were also more likely to be handcuffed for misbehaving than their white peers. Among other things, the new agreement identifies categories of student misbehavior where officers should not make arrests, such as when students are being loud, are not wearing a proper uniform, cut class, are late to class, are caught smoking, gambling, or engaging in other types of disorderly conduct. I don't think I've ever arrested somebody for being loud
or having the wrong clothes on. That's all a school matter.
Yeah, I think that was just lumped into the
to make it sound good.
Yeah, the do not arrest thing.
Look, if you don't break the law, you don't get arrested.
Well, that's not
It's
breaking
just
the
that
law. I mean,
simple.
if you're late for class, is not a law
No,
enforcement
but I'm
issue.
saying though, if you don't break the law, you don't have to worry about it. do you?
Exactly. But why is that lumped into?
And
the
why
do
are the
not
parents
arrest
not teaching
examples?
these kids about discipline before they get to school?
That's another good question. But like I said, since when was being late for class, running in the halls, being loud? When is that an arrestable offense? Why is that wrapped into the whole arrest thing? So the story continues. When school safety officers are called, the agreement stipulates that the officers should pursue disciplinary actions other than arrest, which is right. It's not really our place. I mean, why would we even pursue disciplinary? Hey, your kid was late for class. Why are you calling the law? Handle it. Tell his mom he's late for class all the time. Put him in.
What are you calling me for?
Put him in. We would get the detention.
Well, they want us to raise their kids, is what they want. It's always been that way, pretty much, but now it's even worse.
I hated detention. Boy, did I hate detention. I think maybe they should implement what my 8th grade teacher used to implement when you got in trouble. Didn't realize when you got in trouble, you would have to open up a dictionary, pick a page, and then write the whole page. And let me tell you something.
Well,
you may
in
think that's
school-
hard. You may think that's not hard. But When you look at a dictionary page, you think, oh, that's easy. It's just one page. There are so many freaking words on a dictionary page. It's
That's
crazy.
true.
It's absolutely crazy.
I think maybe I would have been better off with that because when I was in school, if we did something bad, we got our ass whooped with a board.
Yeah.
So you got a good paddle on the ass and you kind of remembered that.
I think I only had one teacher that actually would physically, and that was Mrs. McDermott.
Oh, we had them all right. My
She would
parents were
pull
called
me up
up
by the
to,
nape of my hair.
my parents were called up to watch.
Oh, yeah. And God forbid, if my father showed up at the school,
God help you then.
Anyway, let's get back to the story. I could tell you some nightmare stories about me in high school that I don't want to touch on. The agreement stipulates that officers should pursue disciplinary actions other than arrest, especially for low-level school-based offenses like marijuana.
It says that on there?
Low-level school-based offenses like marijuana possession.
Hey, Tony.
Yeah,
Tony, is the school growing this stuff? What do you mean school-based?
school-based. That's a good one. And we have a comedian in the control room too.
Yeah.
It's school-based. But I mean, really, marijuana. That's a low-level offense for it.
Well, it is a pretty low-level offense, depending on how much you have, but not in school.
Not in school. Not with you don't. You don't expect that from children. I mean, when you get older and you do that, that's all on you. But I don't know.
Yes, 2019, you know.
All right, here's another low-level school-based offense: consumption of alcohol.
You mean you can't do that?
Well,
in school?
Not at school, but
Oh, okay.
I mean, the teachers can so that they can handle. I mean, it's like, how do you get through the school day with these pot smoking, alcohol drinking kids running around? Right?
Too busy. I don't want to say it.
Anyway, also graffiti and harassment, which, I mean, listen, I agree. That's punishable. I mean,
Well,
come on. You shouldn't
graffiti
be
could be considered criminal mischief,
Yes, absolutely.
but
Yeah.
I don't even
But-
think they'd
but-
do anything then, to tell
but-
you the truth.
But I think an alternative to the graffiti thing is you give them a scrub brush, some soap, and a little bit of elbow grease they got to put in. And if it takes them a couple hours to scrub it all off, that's what your punishment. But then nowadays you'll get in trouble for child abuse.
You
for
know,
that.
see, what they don't even talk about here, I understand our school officers, our school resource officers, are more than just arresting them and taking them in and discipline. They counsel them. They talk to them. When two kids get in a hassle or get in a fight, they bring them in and they sit them both down.
Sure.
And the cop becomes more of a counselor and a friend and tries to help them out and tries to teach them how to work
Right.
things out
Right.
instead of fist fighting over it.
Right. The school, a lot of people have a misconception. The image that they have is the school resource officer is there. He's a police officer. He's there as a police officer. Nobody takes into effect the counseling, the mentoring. I mean, there's a lot of kids these guys take under their wings. You know,
Well,
they
it sounds
talk
like
to
they
and
don't
help
even
them.
take that into consideration.
No, well, it's New York, so I don't know. I like I said, I don't know. Listen, 3 years, 10 months, brother. I'm done. You're already done. 3 years, 10 months. I'm done.
Are your kids still in high school?
My daughter just graduated.
Oh, thank God.
She just graduated, and
Now you get a bigger set of headaches.
well, not really. I mean, she's
No, she's a good kid, but
she's very, very level-headed. Just finished she finished EMT school before she finished high school,
there you go.
which is I was like, why didn't I do that? You know, I don't know, but different circumstances, setting up the values and the morals and the standards with my kids was very important, and
Sounds to me like they need to be concentrating on that in New York City schools.
sure, I mean, why not? You know, take care of that. I mean, I just don't understand it. I don't understand it. Police presence in schools and a zero-tolerance disciplinary approach makes students feel like criminals in their own classrooms.
Come on, really? I mean, get
Do
serious.
I have to finish this story? Wait, I gotta
No,
get
go
through
to the
this
next
story.
one. This one's
That
getting pretty old.
That was Joanna Miller, director of the Education Policy Center.
The outreach.
Today's announcement is about treating kids like kids, allowing them to smoke pot, drink. That's not. It doesn't say that, but allowing them to recover from mistakes and teaching them the tools to manage emotions and behavior, she said. The agreement is part of a much broader push by New York City Mayor, go figure, Bill de Blasio, who announced Thursday a major initiative to inject what's known as social and emotional learning into the New York City schools. The term may sound warm and fuzzy. This is the story. I'm not making it up.
Yeah, I know.
The term may sound warm and fuzzy, perhaps even new age.
They always write it all up warm and fuzzy on these New York City shows.
Tony?
Yeah.
So you're allowed to smoke pot in school, but if you smoke a cigarette anywhere else in this city, they'll crucify you.
Well, it's not good for you.
Or if you drink more than how many ounces? What, 16 ounces of soda or whatever?
Yeah, you can't have because you're drinking too much sugar.
No 16-ounce sodas. But hey, here, take this joint to school. Share it with your friends.
No more Frosties at 7-Eleven.
It's crazy.
But take this joint to school and don't worry about it.
Hey, do you have some chocolate milk in your lunchbox? No, but I got a fifth over here of the...
A fifth of Royal Crown.
Oy. Okay, yes, this is real. Social, let me see, where was I? Warm and fuzzy, but even new age, but far from it, advocates say. Social and emotional learning, when combined with traditional academic education, prepares the whole child for life separate from school. From New York City schools, that means helping students to build and maintain positive relationships with coworkers, friends, and family, to learn how to resolve conflict constructively, and to understand how their emotions affect their actions. Teachers, I'm sure they'll get a pay raise because they're going to be required to do this, right?
To do more.
Everybody want, the teachers, I mean, they make a outrageous amount of money, these teachers.
Yeah, but they get to drink too.
And I'm being facetious. I mean, teachers, they don't make, teachers' pay is a whole nother subject and topic. I mean,
apparently they get paid pretty good in New York, I guess.
I don't think any teacher really gets paid good.
No, I don't either.
They don't get paid near enough.
Actually, in Florida here, the governor's giving them a big raise.
Yeah, but
across the state, I think that's great.
After how much?
Well, that's the starting pay, though. I'm talking about. He's raising the starting pay a lot, which means that the top pay goes up too.
Yeah, I understand that.
So it's about time.
But
I like
still
him.
Don't think
he's a good governor. DeSantis.
He really is. He really is. He's a great governor. I like him. But I'll just say that I don't think we're anywhere near close to what the teachers should be making nowadays. No, nowhere near it. So that's a whole nother topic and a whole nother. They need a lot of work on that. But then you lay all this other stuff. Here's some more stuff for you to take care of for us. We're still not going to pay you, but here now you got.
You know what they need to do is stop teaching them home ec, and teach them how to sit down and pay bills and balance a checkbook.
Well, I thought that was part of home ec.
No,
home economics is part of. Are you sure?
No, that's doing laundry and cooking.
No. No. They don't teach you to do laundry in home ec. Come on. No, home ec, they teach you about that, balancing checkbooks and all that other stuff. That's all.
They need to.
So, wow. You just threw me off with the laundry. Yeah, they got like a Mr. Suds set up in the classroom. Okay.
That's why they eat Tide Pods.
Oh, that's terrible. That's just wrong.
We're way off now. Go to the next story.
Wait, let me finish on this because I don't want to leave the teachers out. They're very important, and people need to know what they're expecting of these teachers, which is ridiculous. So now teachers will receive training on that. It's not bad enough that they have to go through all this, schooling, and all the requirements to become a teacher, and then the progressive training and the additional training as things change and move on and stuff. Now they have to learn how to incorporate this program into their school day. And the school system is also hiring a new team of 85 licensed social workers. Oh my God. That schools can call when a student is experiencing a crisis. The uptick in interest in social and emotional learning comes as states begin to implement new K-12 education plans that are required by federal law to take into consideration non-academic factors like school climate and students' perception of safety, providing what some describe as the perfect opportunity for educators to get serious about so-called soft skills that can have an outsized impact on student success. So
They say anything in there how much they're going to spend for security so they don't have outside people come in and start killing kids? I guess they left that part out.
Listen, I think maybe they're thinking, if we drug them and get them drunk, then they won't have to think about that stuff, worrying about somebody coming to their school.
Yeah, or balancing our checkbook or anything.
It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. We definitely have our priorities in the wrong place. The kids should always come first no matter what.
Yeah.
And you have to... The first thing you do is you protect them. You're giving them the safe place. I mean, I always thought school was my safe place. I mean, we didn't really have that back then.
We didn't have that problem either.
But that was... I never even had to think about that. But, I guess as a kid, it was just natural to know that was your place. That was your safe place. School was your safe place. So, we need to prioritize. We need to get that back. We need to get rid of that. I mean, you put these social people in here and stuff. Listen, the teachers are a very good tool because of their direct dealings with these kids and stuff. And teachers like us, they have their own kids too. They raise their own kids. I mean, you don't need however many social people being added to the system. Let the teachers do what they do best, and that's nurture our kids. Nurture our kids. Teach them, nurture them, be there for them. I mean, it's just absolutely ridiculous that you inject more money into the wrong areas for these schools. Get the safety going. When you have extra money to throw at the schools and you have nothing else you could do with it, go ahead, throw some counselor or throw some social workers in there. But really? You're going to...
I think they need those police officers for more than just
absolutely
what they're doing.
It's just absolutely crazy.
They hate the police up there anyway.
All right, let's move on because let's see. In Indiana, a police dog was shot Wednesday while tracking down a suspected drunken driver who tried to escape police by bolting through a wooded area. Canine Harlage. Excuse me.
Harlage.
Harlage. Harlej.
Okay.
Harlage.
He must have been a Kentucky dog.
Indiana.
Close.
Canine Harlage had been called in to help officers in the manhunt for 19-year-old Richard Garrett Jr., who had run from his vehicle after a brief car chase on Interstate 69. Canine officers Jared Koopman, Harlage's handler, eventually spotted Garrett and ordered him to surrender, but Garrett refused and ran away, prompting Koopman to let Harlage off of his leash to chase the suspect. What?
Nothing.
You don't like that?
No, I'm waiting. Oh. Go ahead.
Because you were a canine deputy. But I know this is near and dear to you when it comes to the canines, and that show that we had with the canines was an awesome show.
Yeah, and I got something on that too, but go ahead.
That was a really good show. Remember that and write it down or jot it or something.
I got it right here.
Harlage, he was a 5-year-old Belgian Malinois, same breed as the military dog who helped take out ISIS leader Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi last month. He ran ahead of Koopman and out of his sight. Officers then heard a gunshot and were unable to find Harlage. Community members honored Harlage with a memorial of drawings and handwritten notes of encouragement, the department said. From what I understand with this story, after several hours, they found this guy with a leg injury and believed to be from a dog bite. And then later on, they found the Harlage dead in a wooded area. He had succumbed to a gunshot wound.
So he shot him while he was biting him.
Yeah, probably.
Probably so.
He's probably, because obviously it said that they found him later, so he was running. The dog was still with him and continuing with him and stuff. Might have even been hanging on to him, dragging him and stuff.
Well, here's one that goes along with our canine show 2 weeks ago. Florida bloodhounds find missing 3-year-old with autism in under 30 minutes. Pensacola, Florida. In less than a half hour, a couple of bloodhounds belonging to the Florida Sheriff's Office found a missing 3-year-old boy with autism who had wandered alone into the thick woods of the Panhandle Sunday. Audra Hughes said her mother was watching her son, Adric, and was in the bathroom when the boy apparently managed to unlock the deadbolt to the front door and went for his little adventure, she said.
That's awesome, though.
It is awesome.
That's awesome. Those dogs are...
And thank God, like, Broward's got two or three bloodhound teams,
Yeah.
and so does Palm Beach County.
Yeah, I had, as a matter of fact, Debbie Wallace. She's a deputy, a bloodhound deputy with the sheriff's office. She's good people. I talked to her about having a bloodhound special one day. So
That'd be good.
yeah, maybe one day we'll get them in here.
That'd be great.
Yeah. She said she would be very interested in doing that. Bloodhounds are special. All our dogs are special animals, but the bloodhounds are really, really special. So we'll finish up with the story. It is my belief he saved lives last night, and we are thankful for his sacrifice, Chief Ed Gebhardt said of Harlage during a press conference. Police set up a memorial for him in the department's lobby, and community members have already contributed a number of handwritten notes and drawings. So I know how much these dogs mean to you guys. I know. And I'll talk. When I started with the sheriff's office, I think I started off as a dispatcher. And I originally was in a very prominent position before I got hired with the sheriff's office with a private company. And I had an opportunity to move to Birmingham, Alabama. In fact, I had already gone up there and scouted my home. I was received. What happened?
Nothing.
I had received, they all expensive paid trip up there for a week to find a home, bring my family, everything. Found the home in Montgomery. Toured the new facility that I'd be running with them, and I applied for the sheriff's office earlier in that year, and I got the month before we were supposed to leave, the sheriff's office called and said, "Listen, do you want the job? Because you can start January 3rd." They originally said a date in December, but I forgot what it was. But then they called me back and said, "Listen, can you make it January 3rd?" So I went to the vice president of the company and I told him what I had, and I said, "Listen, now it's all about my family. I really need to, can you meet their benefits? This is what they're offering me." And he said, "Listen," he goes, "you go. You're a great employee. I hate to see you go. Here's severance. I can't give you that." And that's when I started with the sheriff's office, and I started in dispatch. And in dispatch, even though a lot of guys don't like to believe it, very many of the guys become our friends. They're like friends that you've never put a face to, but they become your friends, including the canines. And we had some great canines that we knew. Matter of fact, there was a canine officer in Davie that when I worked at Davie Radio that not encouraged physically by telling me, but what went on that radio every day that I worked it, that I loved it so much, that it enticed me to go out and go for a ride along, which enticed me. Once I went for the ride along, I said, "This is where I want to be." And but I had friends that I'd never met through the airwaves, who I felt became, like really, really good friends, even though I've never met you face to face. I don't know you from Joe. I know you by your call sign. I know your name because obviously I know your CCN. I know you come on at this day. I know what you're known for. I know if you're a troublemaker, you're a shit magnet. I know who you are and what you do. And the canine guys were closer because you knew there were certain canine guys that can go on duty, and you knew if that canine guy was 10-8 was working that night, you were going on a foot chase, at some time during the night. There were certain deputies like that. And I knew that. And one in particular, very good, very, very, very good canine was Mike Matroka. And Mike was killed while I was working one night. And I worked that radio from start to finish, refused to get off the radio, handled hundreds of units from agencies all over the county, not including command and all that other stuff, and didn't stop until they caught the guy. Because what happened was Mike was T-boned and then stuck in his car. His dog, Wodon, had gotten out, chased after the perp, but then when Mike wasn't behind him, he turned around and stayed with him. Unfortunately, Mike passed, and the perp hid in one of the houses, but we ended up tracking, finding, and later, I became really good friends with his wife, or his widow, Donna, and ended up moving 3 houses down from her, and became really good friends with her. And my son at the time, Anthony, my older son, was, I forgot how old he was, became best friends with Wodon. And because Donna got Mike's dog. He was a Belgian Malinois. And unfortunately, Wodon, something happened to him where he ended up passing away. It was very heartbreaking, but you become they are your family. I mean, they become part of your family. It's very hard to lose a dog like that.
Well, it's hard to lose a normal pet, let alone a dog that you spend 8 hours a night with or 12 hours a day with, bonding and feeding them and washing them and bathing them and taking them to the vet. And you live with that dog, you know.
Right.
Like you always hear guys say, I see more of you than I do my wife.
Yeah.
Well, they see more of the dog than they do their wife.
That's true.
So there you go.
And don't forget the bond. I mean, everybody builds a bond with their animals, and they become their children and stuff like that. But no bond is more special than the bond of a police dog who every day, without hesitation and doesn't even understand, is going to put their life on their line to make sure that yours doesn't get taken.
Yeah.
That is a bond that is, how could you not be emotionally attached to this person who's willing to take the bullet for you every day without hesitation? And if you throw the ball to him, he's happy as a pig in shit. Throw him what do they call it, a Kong? A Kong, is that what it's called? The ball thing that you throw?
I don't know, it's a ball.
It's called a Kong. It's like a 3-tier ball. Or
Oh,
whatever.
well, no, I didn't have one.
I think that's what it's called. But anyway, you know what? That's all the dog wants from you. Just throw me the ball. There's a Disney movie or something where they put words to. Because
Call in here, Brian.
Yeah, Brian, call in. No excuses for you. We love our dogs. We don't like our dogs. I know that. I know that for a fact. I know you guys are bonded to your dogs. They're a very special. It's a special team. It's a special marriage, you might say. But that was pretty sad.
I just got a text message from a friend of mine who said, because we like our dogs. So, Brian, call in, will you?
So, anyway, we love the canines. We're very grateful for them. I know there are a lot of canine guys that I've worked with in the 25 years I've been with that I'm very grateful for, who have gotten me out of tight jams. Frank Mayo, Roy Baraglia,
right
back in the day of.
I know Matroka's wife too. I'm friends with her on Facebook.
Donna, yeah.
Yeah, but I think she moved away now.
Yeah, she did.
Central Florida. Yeah.
Yeah, we lived 2 houses down from her. It was rough for her the first few years, you know.
Oh, of course.
And I think we kind of bonded, especially because I was the dispatcher that worked that day. I got all kinds of awards and accolades, but that didn't mean anything to me because, you know, like I said, Mike was like one of my friends. You know, that was back in the day. You know, Pete Fortunato was canine back then. You knew when Pete was working, he was going after somebody.
Oh, yeah.
Pete's 31. I'm telling you, he's going.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had really good guys. We still have really good canine guys. I just don't know them like I did as a dispatcher. As a dispatcher, you get to know pretty much everybody.
Yeah, now
even though you don't ever see.
You don't know anybody but who works in your district anymore.
On your shift.
Whew.
It's you know, the way the shifts run, it's you know, you're lucky you know the people who are your relief shift.
See, when I started, we didn't have districts. We just had the road patrol.
Dirt roads.
We worked out of one building, and we had 9 zones. So
Yeah, back then, was that when the county was divided in a quadrant, like 4?
no,
Or-
we just had 9 zones,
Really?
all over, spread out all over the county.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And there were times on midnight shift when we had training and vacations and stuff. We'd work the county with 3 people, 1 north, 1 south, and 1 center. 1 sergeant running back and forth if we needed him.
Wow.
That's when I started.
You have to send smoke signals too, right? Was
Just
it like
about, yeah. But you know that
to go to the
that goes
Miccosukee
back to what we're going to
Indian
talk
tribe.
about tonight: being in control.
Yeah, yeah.
And I'll talk about that in a few
we got
minutes.
a good time. Before we're running on a little bit, we'll take a break in just a few minutes. But one last note before we break, I wanted to give you an update on a story that we discussed last week involving a young boy named James Shelton from Germantown, Maryland, who had made a handmade wooden blue line flag. Did you hear? Did you
Oh,
listen?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So he handmade and gifted a local police department a wooden thin blue line flag, but he was told by Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrick that the flag would not be displayed anywhere because it was divisive, which is
Bullshit.
flabbergasted. I'm just. I understand there are issues, but
No, there's not.
I'm not going to
There's
go.
no issues with that flag.
I'm not going to go back and just go back into it like I did last week. But this week, though, members of the nonprofit group Brothers Before Others handed out thin blue line flags along with coffee and donuts.
Gee, thanks, guys.
You know, my sister gifted me.
Stereotypes.
Yeah, my sister gifted me a box of Dunkin' Donuts when I graduated the police academy. You know, typical.
Yeah.
Whatever. Yeah, donuts and cups. I have a decal, a bumper sticker that I don't have on a car because I cherish it, magneted to my door at home when you come in from the garage, and it says, "No one would make fun of cops if they ate grapes."
That's true.
My daughter gave that to me a long time. I forgot how old she was.
Well, I didn't. I had Carol Wargen
Yeah.
riding with me, and I was
know.
training her, and I took her to Dunkin' Donuts. I remember, but just for the coffee. I didn't
Well,
like.
that's just it. I mean, people
I didn't
don't-
go for the donuts, but I just liked their coffee
People
better than
don't
everybody
realize it's
else's.
really just the coffee.
If Starbucks wasn't around, of course, I wouldn't go there anyway because their coffee sucks. But that's besides the point.
Anyway, they passed out thin blue line flags with coffee and donuts at the 5th District Police Station in Germantown in a show of support for the Montgomery County Police, which is awesome. The charity's demonstration comes about a week after Montgomery County Executive Mark Elrick decided that a wooden wall hanging bearing the thin blue line should not be hung at the Germantown Police Station. Thin blue line flags are typically black and white American flags with a single stripe of blue running beneath the stars. They are meant to show support for law enforcement officers. On November 2nd, when James Shelton and his son delivered a wall hanging with the thin blue line flag printed on it. Later in the week, 5th District Station thanked Shelton and announced on Facebook and Twitter that the wooden flag would be displayed. Social media posts were met with some pushback from members of the community who felt that it has a resemblance to Blue Lives Matter symbols. One post noted that the thin
And we
blue
can't
line-
have that. I mean, you can't have Blue Lives Matter. Holy, that's really radical.
That's a whole nother topic.
That's another show.
Because we don't matter. The blue line. The blue line doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't matter.
A lot of people misunderstand
Our
what
wives
the blue
don't
line
care.
is. They don't understand that it's the thin blue line isn't a line of us protecting other cops from getting in trouble for what they do, because we don't condone that.
No, the thin blue line is us standing between them and anarchy.
That's right. They don't understand that it's a thin blue line.
But the
Once
people,
the
most
blue
of the
line
people
gets
do
broken-
understand. The normal people,
Yeah. Well. Yes. Yes.
the
they
people
do.
with the more radical intent and more liberal, or more social justice minded.
and I believe some of them know too, but they use it to their advantage.
Agreed.
So, where was I? Okay. So, county resident Laura Weedall joined the Brothers Before the Others demonstration and showed support by supporting the local police by bringing her own blue line flag. She noted that the backlash on social media to the flag released a statement saying that it should be taken down. Acting Police Chief Marcus Jones and I understand the concerns of the community. The flag provides a symbol of support to some, but it is a symbol of dismissiveness to others. Because it is divisive, the flag will not be posted at the 5th District, nor in any other public space within our police department.
Now, see, this is where police chiefs and probably mayors, but they get elected, so they're not going to. This is where police chiefs have to tell some of those people who are complaining about the blue line flag, no, we're going to display it, whether you like it or not, because this is what the flag stands for, and we got the nerve, and we're not going to put up with your bullshit. We're going to put the flag up in the police department. If you don't like it, too damn bad.
Yeah.
And then when more people start telling them no, then they'll go, oh, well, I guess there's no sense in complaining.
Well,
but it's not
when
like
when
that,
you
so.
have, unfortunately, if you put up that kind of stance, then you're stereotyped as you don't want to take it down because you're racist.
I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's go on
Okay,
before
good
I
idea.
lose it.
Good idea. So, the police department, under my administration, we are committed to improving police relations with the community and will immediately address any action that stands against our mission, he said. Since his announcement, local civic groups and elected officials, including Governor Larry Hogan, have made it clear they do not agree with Elrick's decision, which is
Good.
the governor is saying. So Hogan posted photos of himself on Twitter posing in front of similar flags, saying we're proud to hang these thin blue line flags in the government house to honor our brave law enforcement officers. That's all it is.
There you go.
That's all it is. A local elected official prohibiting police from displaying a flag given to them by a grateful child is disgraceful.
I agree.
Brothers Before Others also took offense to Elrick's decision and announced in a statement that they would show their support outside the 5th District Police Station by handing out blue line flags. They also invited Hogan to join them during their midday demonstration. Although Hogan did not make an appearance, a small group of people gathered in front of the front parking lot outside the station, carrying their own blue line flags and chatting with officers from the precinct. Unfortunately, in America, we can't control who displays what and where. That's the freedom we protect and the freedom that we have, said Rob O'Donnell to the group of supporters. O'Donnell served as a police officer for 14 years and currently serves as the organization's Director of Business and Media Relations. So because this flag was hijacked in maybe a half a dozen cases over its more than 60-year history, doesn't make it racist or a white supremacist symbol. What it stands for is those police officers who put their badges on every day, leave their homes not knowing if they're going to come home, serve their community, regardless of the demographics of that community, and do that job day in and day out. They deserve this support. O'Donnell went on to say that there is a bond between the community and the police force that serves it, and Elrick's decision threw a wedge through that bond. He could have simply said, put it in a non-public facing room, put it in a locker room, put it in the gym. Instead, he came out with a statement saying, this is what we want. He wanted to put out there is his anti-police rhetoric, that anti-blue line rhetoric, so that he would also get kudos from his supporters. Other participants in the demonstration cited similar issues with Elrick's decision. Susie Brown Butler explained that she supports Montgomery County Police 100% and has seen firsthand the stress officers are under because her own father was a police officer. They don't get enough support from the public or the government. I think no one appreciates what they do, she said. I think this demonstration is very important because police officers need to see that there are people behind them, which is right.
Yep.
When we don't see that, it's a morale buster. You know, it's.
Do you know Sheriff Grady Judd?
I know he was
Polk
one of.
County.
I know he was one of the.
Very outspoken sheriff in Florida.
One of the guys. He was in the news lately, wasn't he?
He's been in the news all the time. And He's the kind of guy where they had a guy kill a police dog and murder someone else, fled into the woods. SWAT team went in the woods after him. They had a shootout with the guy. They killed him. And the media asked Grady Judd in a press conference why they fired so many bullets.
Oh, yeah. I remember this. This was a while ago.
And he had
story.
the nerve to say, because they ran out of bullets.
Yeah, I read that story a while ago. But
do you think he would have let this thing fly or no? He would have hung that sucker up in front of the jail. And matter of fact, they wouldn't even have had the balls to question him, probably, because he's that kind of sheriff.
I'm lost for words.
I love the guy.
I wanted to say something, but I think I'm better off not saying it.
I'm amazed.
I'll say it for you. Don't worry.
Because of me?
Because you're at a loss for words.
He's cheering me on in there. He's waiting for me to lose it and start saying things about stuff, but I'm not going to do that tonight because I took my medication.
At the rate you're going, it's going to be a 5-hour show, but go ahead.
Okay,
yeah,
right.
right.
I'm sorry. Anyway, so police officers need to see that there are people behind them. Their morale is so low right now, and a lot of that has to do with Mark Elric. He went on to explain that Thin Blue Line flags are not about Black Lives Matters movements or the Blue Line Matters movement, but about supporting the police. Brown Butler noted that there are good and bad people in every area of life. There are bad apples in every walk of life. There are bad apples in clergy. I mean, there have been things that happen in the Catholic Church. So, are you going to go there and take down the statues of Mary and Joseph? No, she said. There have been some terrible rapes by some illegal aliens, and they happen to be Hispanic. So is he going to go into all the Mexican restaurants in the area and take down everything having to do with their country? No, and he shouldn't. She explained that she feels like Elric is just picking on the police department. Michael Guglius, who also attended the demonstration, said that the county executive's criticism and the anti-police sentiment is completely uncalled for. Why would you criticize the flag? Why would you criticize the kid who made it? And why would you criticize the police? The police are here for everybody. Imagine if there were no police. Then Blue Line. If there were no police, what type of community would we have, he said. Guglius went on to explain that Montgomery County is a fabulous community, one that is very diverse, and still it has come with a government that is trying to denigrate and tear our community apart and pit one against the other, he said. So, I just wanted to touch base on that because, he started a fire in that community that he probably didn't want to start. The Thin Blue Line flag, it makes me proud to know that people are supporting us.
Yes.
It shows us support.
Well, it sounds to me like that guy put the fire out pretty good, though.
Which one?
The guy that came back and said we're going to hang these flags and we support the people. And
yeah, but it's still not. It's still not at the police station. I mean, it was an event where the flags were displayed, but they were gone when the event was over. I mean, so
at least people came out for us.
Yeah, and they're still supporting them. So who knows what'll come next? I mean, they'll probably have more rallies and stuff, and eventually, the flag should get hung in a locker room or something, or in a roll call room where the public doesn't see it. But to us, that means a lot. I mean, kids go every day and do stuff for us. Later on, I'm gonna. It's very good that I talked about this topic for the end of the show, and you'll see why. Okay. That's all I'm going to say. So, as a reminder, if you have a comment, question, or story, and I'm surprised that these canine guys haven't called in. I mean, what's up with that? That's disappointing.
Maybe they're out chasing people.
Come on. As a reminder, if you have a comment, question, or a story you'd like to share, join the conversation. That's the whole point of calling in. Remember the toll-free number. Give the podcast studio a call at toll-free, no money, 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we'll get into tonight's topics. We'll be right back.
If you or someone you know would like to appear as a guest on the show, you can book your appearance on the Copservations Facebook page, or you can email the show directly at copservations@yahoo.com.
Awkward. Do I look familiar? I should. You might remember me from here. Here. Or maybe even here. But an awkward silence can be a great thing. It can actually be a perfect moment to reach out to a friend and ask if they're okay if they seem down. Doesn't matter how you say it.
You all right?
Everything's okay?
All G?
You all right, girl? You cool?
You bugging dog.
Just show you're there for them. Go on, Kelly. Seize the awkward.
Hey, you haven't really been yourself lately. Are you okay?
Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org. How to know if you should reach out to a friend. Your friend might be. How to continue the talk with your friend about their mental health after you ask about how they were feeling. Put down that phone. Do it. Nobody's texting you. Phone down. Good. Now it's time to listen. If they're not ready to talk yet, check back in later.
I'm always here if you want to talk. Okay?
That was great. Find out how you can help a friend with their mental health at seizetheawkward.org. Awkward.
I surrender.
All right, pal. Get ready for the day, buddy.
Hey, Dad. Hey, Dad. Do we have a gun?
What's up?
Do we have a gun?
Why do you ask that, kiddo?
Can I play with it?
No, absolutely not. It's not a toy. You know that.
Do I? I bet it looks like one.
Yeah, well, it's not. Anyway, I need it to protect you, your sister, and Mom.
From what?
From bad guys, like on TV.
But what about the 8 kids who get shot every day by mistake? Their daddies probably thought they were safe too.
Where'd you hear that?
TV.
Yeah, well, maybe we don't believe everything we hear on TV.
Where do you keep it?
It's hidden.
I bet it's on the top shelf of the closet, under your sweatshirts. Is it loaded?
It's not. I keep the
In
bullets.
the boots with the red laces, and the chest beside the bed? I haven't found them yet, but I'm sure I can. You always told me to be curious. Remember when I found my Christmas gift? I'm a good climber, you know.
No, that's not what I meant. Look, I need to be ready if someone breaks in.
What about when it's just me and Mom? You taught me to be brave. I could use the gun to protect her.
No, Justin, I promise. I'll teach you how to handle a gun when you're old enough.
And what if I don't make it to old enough? I could get bullied and decide it's too much for me. It would be so easy with our gun.
Our gun? No, buddy. My gun.
But it is our gun, in our home. Happens all the time.
I'll make sure that doesn't happen. I'm always here for you.
But Dad, you're not always here.
Today, with seasonal temperatures, we should reach our normal high of about 82 degrees by this afternoon. Clear skies tonight with a low near 70. Increasing cloudiness tomorrow, sticky and humid with a high of 36. With the winds up to the east.
To talk to our host, call the podcast studio toll-free at 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677. Now back to our host.
I don't want this going over.
Welcome back to Cobservations. Tonight's discussion is interacting with law enforcement. And we're going to get into that topic now, how police officers interact with people during certain situations, how the public reacts or should react with us during certain situations. And a lot of people assume they know what's going on, or how the way an officer handles something is because he's, just because he's being mean or just, So, to take a little bit of that thought process out, I guess we'll discuss some of the things, I guess the most common law enforcement interaction with people are the traffic stops. So,
it's a good start. But people,
you said it would be a good start.
People
so
need to.
Why we're starting with it. No,
but people need to understand though that in their job, if a lady's working in a bank, or a guy is a bank teller, or a guy's a cab driver, or working in Publix, he doesn't see things the way we do. When we work in our job, every incident is different, and our personality has to match that incident. And then the longer you're a cop, the better you become at changing your approach to people and what you have to do. Sometimes we have to be really tough, and other times we can be just as gentle as pie. But as far as traffic stops go, I was a motorcycle cop. So for 8 years, I wrote a lot of tickets. That was my job. That's what I did. A lot of people didn't get off because my job was to write tickets.
Right.
However, that being said, if you get stopped by a cop, you have a 50-50 chance of getting off that ticket, the average cop. Because you got to remember, we're human too.
Right.
We do have some compassion. Depending on what you did wrong, of course. But if you get stopped and you're nice to the cop and you're polite and you don't swear at him, you don't curse at him, you don't cop an attitude, then you got a 50-50 chance of him giving you a warning and letting you go.
Right.
I mean, that's just human nature, and that's just the way it is. Now, if you did something real bad, he's not going to let you go.
Right. It all
If you
depends
were
on the circumstances.
Reckless or driving like a lunatic or something.
Right.
But we also know that we've seen plenty of these videos where cops pull people over and they refuse to roll the window down. And they have this attitude that, I don't owe you anything, I don't have to give you anything. They crack the window an inch so they can talk to the cop.
Sovereign citizens have
sovereign citizens do that.
We discussed that last week with the countering violent extremism. The sovereign citizens.
I remember
is
that.
One of them.
But I also had arrested one of those guys right before I retired. And it depends. And then this is a perfect example now that I think about it on how you treat people. Because at first I had to be real tough on him because he was giving me the sovereign citizen song and dance. Mm-hmm. By the time I finished and he was going off to the Main County Jail, he was thanking me.
Right.
I appreciate it. Thanks. You're right. I kind of think the sovereign stuff's a bunch of crap. And you're right. And so I was shocked. But anyway, the people in these cars, if you cop that kind of an attitude, do you really believe the cop's just going to say, you're right, I'm sorry, have a nice day, go on your way? It's not going to happen. It's going to end real bad for you. And people force us to arrest them. They force us into taking enforcement action when normally we wouldn't.
Right.
Prime example is when you and I were at the airport. How many times did you tell people, I'm sorry, you have to move. You can't park here. Transportation Security Administration tells the sheriff's office, keep these cars moving. If you don't, you get the fine.
Right.
So I remember one day I walked up to a lady and I said, pardon me, ma'am, you're not allowed to park here longer than 5 minutes. If your people aren't out here at the curb, you need to drive around one time and come back and maybe they'll be here by then. And she looked at me and said, F you, I'm not moving. Now, what do you think happened to her?
I've had a couple
One thing
of
led
those.
to another, and she ended up in the back seat of my car. Her car got towed, and she went off to the county jail. If she had said, you're right, I'll be right back. Oh, what a pain it is, officer, to have to drive around. I would have understood all that, no problem. I can understand people trying to talk their way out of a ticket.
Right.
But when you act like that, you leave us no choice.
It's tough. It's when it comes to traffic stops. I mean, a lot of people think, first of all, the misnomer that we have a quota,
Right.
and I quote unquote. Dum-dum-dum.
Yeah.
No, seriously, the quota that we have to make a certain amount of. We have to write a certain amount of tickets. You know, that's probably not one of the first things you want to blurt out of your mouth when you get stopped.
No.
You know, sometimes I'll joke around and say, "Yeah, I'm trying to get the microwave or whatever this week or something." But you know, sometimes, and depending on the person, and it's not. There is no certain demographic or age limit to the people that do this. I mean, everybody does it. Older people, you know, some people, I stop and I think, really, this you're saying this? But you know, people actually think. One of my biggest pet peeves is, what did I do? Well, you know, the first question, I walk up and I ask you for your stuff and you say, what did I do? You know what you did. You know what you did. I don't have to make stuff up to give you a ticket, because there are violations going on around me every day, all the time. I don't have to sit and try to find something. It's there. And
I mean, look, you know, like you're saying, if they would just give me your license, registration, and proof of insurance, and say, "What did I do, officer? Is there a problem?" Maybe you did something he didn't know he did, but just ask. You don't have to cop an attitude. That's the whole thing, is copping the attitude.
Yeah.
You know, I remember when I was a motorcycle deputy. I was pretty hardcore. I wrote 200 or 300 tickets a month, and I pulled this lady over one time. And it was in a bad part of town. She was a single mom, had a couple of kids in the car, and she didn't have her kid in the baby seat, sitting in the car seat. So I had stopped her for that, and I talked to her for a minute or two, and I said, "You divorced?" And yes. And does your, well, I didn't
father
say.
of children?
Yeah. Is your father of the children paying you any money? Hell no. I said, "Okay, wait here." So I go back to the car, and I thought to myself, well, I can either give her a ticket and send her on her way like I should do, or I can go up and warn her and give her some information where she can get a car seat, and then see if I can work something out with her. Because she's going to look at it one of two ways, I knew. In 2 weeks from now, when the deadline came up, she has to pay this fine.
Right.
If she doesn't pay the fine, she gets her driver's license suspended.
Right.
If she doesn't pay the fine, she can't buy groceries for the week. So what do you think she's going to do? She's not going to pay the fine. She's going to buy the groceries. Her license is going to get suspended, and then she ends up in this big circle.
Yep. And
she
she's still
can't
going
get
to
out
drive
of
the
it
car
because she
even though her
can't.
license is
Exactly.
suspended.
She'll get another ticket
Yep.
and another ticket,
Yep.
and she can't afford to pay it, and it
Yeah.
keeps growing
Yeah.
and
It's
growing
it.
and growing.
It's it.
Instead, I walked up and said, "Ma'am, listen. If you go to the firehouse, you can get a seat for free. Have a nice day." Now,
I think
that's a difference.
we've all had incidents.
Of course.
Incidents with that.
Because we're human. We're not monsters.
There are times that happens. There are more times than people even think there are, where we will say, "Hey, you know what? Have a nice day. This is what you could do. This is what you can do." We take all that into consideration. But when you start off with, "Don't you have better things to do? Don't you have criminals to arrest?"
I pay your salary, you know.
I pay my own salary. I pay taxes.
Exactly.
But, you know, it's there's a certain way that you interact with the police when you have, you know, yeah, we have the training and everything that we go through, but nothing can train you better for this job than the experience itself in the years that you grow with it and you learn. Nothing. All the training in the world would not teach me everything that I really need to know as a law enforcement officer and applying what I do every day. All the training in the world from where I work would not have gotten me to this point where I'm at in as far as knowing your more common sense and your everyday human things to do. I mean, it's just you have to apply your knowledge as you go along. You make mistakes and, you know, you make stupid decisions in the beginning. You make mistakes, but I've always been taught and told especially the story that I told you about, when I got hired by the sheriff's office and I went to the road. One thing I forgot to tell you was, when I got hired, I originally didn't get hired at first, and the deadline was coming to move with this company, and I really didn't want to go to Alabama. I really didn't. And I went to the person in charge at that time of communications and begged and said, listen, please, I really, I need this. And the person in charge, and I won't mention his name or anything, but he's not that he's gone from the agency, but he's still around, said, listen, if I do this for you, you better put in 110%. And I did. And he was the same person I went to when I decided to go to the road. And because of what I did and put in the 110%, the couple of years that I did start, he gave me his blessings and knew that I wouldn't have a problem with doing that. So anyway, in my experience learning in the beginning of, my career, you make stupid moves. You make stupid, later on in life, you do things like I've personally, in old District 9, brought people car seats because we used to have them. I don't know if they still do it now or if they did it. I don't know how far back you went. But we had car seats at the station. We had bicycle helmets. We had car seats.
Something like that.
Back then they give you the whips for the horses and stuff.
No, I was on a motorcycle, but
But yeah, I've had incidents with that where I've had passengers with kids on laps, which is a big
no-no.
And I literally went back to the station, picked up car seats, went to their house, and delivered car seats to them. Sometimes you do that. We're human, and it's just, it all depends on your interaction.
I just saw an article within the last couple of weeks that a grandmother was driving with her child in the car without a car seat, had a bad crash, and the kid was killed. And now they're charging her with vehicular manslaughter.
It's tough.
So
that's tough. Listen, to go through that and then to be charged and have to relive it over and over again while you're being charged and do all that, it's terrible.
But it could have been avoided.
I tell people nowadays. I even told there was a vehicle that pulled up at a service station the other day while I was at work. And the woman got out and she went into the store, and there's it must have been 2, no more than 2, at the steering wheel, playing, and I'm like, I walk over to the car, and there's another child in the back seat. She's probably 4 or 5 or whatever. And I'm just thinking, I gotta somehow let this woman know. I think the last show I said something about people seeing what our eyes see. You don't want to see what our eyes see.
No.
And I waited for her to come out, and she come out yelling at the little girl in the back seat. I told you keep him back there. And I go, wait, ma'am. I'm like, do you have your license, registration, insurance? She's like, yes. So she gives it to me, and I go to my car, and she goes, but aren't they older? I go, you can't leave the child in the car with the car running. You just can't. And the Florida law says after 15 minutes, even if it's not running, then it becomes a criminal offense. So I go to my car and I run her, and I see she's military. She handed me her military ID also. She goes, here's my military ID. I'm like, so I go to my car and I run her. I check her. And then she says, I just moved here from wherever they moved, Tennessee, I think it was. And I said, well, I'm going to give you a rundown on Florida law. This is Florida law. And this is the children, this is the car seat, this is the booster seat, blah, 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 blah. This is the changing your address in a certain amount of time. This is the change your vehicle tag. And I'm telling you this not because I want to chastise you, but because I want to educate you so that you avoid future run-ins with your problems that you're going to have. And the biggest thing you're going to have is the child not in a car seat. And I said, she goes, well, she's so-and-so, however many years old. I go, listen, that doesn't matter. This one is too small to be in a booster seat. This one's too small to have a seatbelt on. This is what you need to do. And I'm telling you, not because I want to bust your chops, but because I'm the one that has to tell you in the hospital when I go there that your child is not with us any longer when you have the car accident. I'm the one that has to deal with what they look like on the roads after they're ejected from the vehicle, because it's not pretty.
No.
And I tell them I am not afraid to tell people that I'm zero tolerance with kids because of the state that I've seen them in after the accidents. I won't get physically graphic with them. But if you put it to them like that, it kind of gives them a different perspective of it. And the lady drove away without, tickets for her, because I could have gave her a ticket for leaving the kids in the vehicle. I could have gave her that. It could have been a criminal ticket. 15 minutes in a car. Whether it's running or not, you can't leave children in there. Cracked windshield. No, the out-of-state tag. There's no, you've been living here for 2 months already. Your license isn't changed. I could give you all that. Do I really need to? No. Oh, and by the way, thank you for your service. Because we appreciate our vets. Have a good day.
Well, like I was getting back to that car stop thing. For the average person, if they get stopped, they got a good chance of getting off the ticket.
Absolutely.
Depending on who stopped them.
Not in the beginning of your career.
Maybe not. No.
The odds are a little bit different in the beginning of your career.
Beginning.
You
but
know that as well as I do.
If you get a guy that's a seasoned cop,
yes,
or even just a few years on,
yeah,
you got a good chance.
Right.
The only reason you won't have a good chance is, one, if you get stopped by a motorcycle cop or a state trooper, because that's their job too, just to write tickets.
Right.
But even with the trooper, if you handle yourself
once
properly,
in a while you're going
to get off the ticket.
Yeah.
Good possibility. But everybody knows you get more with honey than you do vinegar.
Right.
So if I'm the guy holding your driver's license in my hand and I have the ability to write you a ticket or not, why in the world when you want to give me a hard time? That doesn't make any sense.
I'll admit there have been days that I've had the worst day, the busiest day. I'm literally exhausted and pulled over somebody and gotten out and started with that, the first thing, like whatever the comment was, and just go, have a nice day. I'm just not dealing with this today.
Yeah.
I have done that.
Yeah.
I have. Because
that's because you're human, like I said.
Some days you just can't, Listen, I've had a good run in my career, and I've learned a lot. And there's a lot of things. There's a lot. The compassion thing, like you said, like we were talking about too. As you get seasoned and you learn, you know more. I talked about that also last year. You don't really know compassion until you've been put in certain instances of how to handle things, and then once you've handled them a different way and you see the different outcomes and everything, then you understand it a little better, and then you humanly. You become more human as a cop. When you first become a cop, you're not really human. I mean, you're a cop. You want to go fight crime. You want to stop the traffic violators. I still want to now. But it's just all the adrenaline comes down and everything levels out and flattens out. And you become a seasoned police officer. You become a good police officer. You become a reasonable police officer. And it's a lot easier to communicate with the people that you interact with every day. Unfortunately, the people that interact with us don't get to do that every day. So they, whether it's the image that's painted in their mind or, all the bad stories that are highlighted, because the good stories really, they're highlighted, but not like the bad stories. It only takes one little. What's that saying? The 100. It only takes one aw shit to ruin 1,000 attaboys.
Yeah, especially with a supervisor.
Yeah, I think a supervisor told
in
me
the
that.
Administration.
As they were writing me up, they told me, "No, I'm just kidding." I'm just kidding. No, but seriously, they, the behavior of it works both ways. We're not looking for you to grovel and be nice.
Just be a nice person. That's all.
But
just treat the guy with a little respect.
Little respect is what it is. They're a little bit more than just being nice. Just be respectful. That's all we ask. So, but anyway, that was a good.
We're going to talk about control now or something. Or
we're going to talk. You wanted to mention about the harder personality of the younger police officer before we
yeah.
Like,
I
why
had
are cops so cocky and mean? And
I had that kind of thing when I first became a cop. And back in those days, they called it the John Wayne syndrome. But I know a lot of these young people nowadays don't even know who John Wayne is. It's a communist. But anyway.
he was a great icon.
Yeah, he sure
I grew
was.
up around him.
But a lot of young cops.
You got his horses, didn't you?
Yeah, I did have. A lot of young cops, like everybody else, they have to learn the job,
Right.
and they have to learn how to treat people.
Right.
When I was a young cop, I was pretty hard ass in that respect until I got into the job a little bit more.
Yeah.
But also, a lot of times, people will say, "Oh, that cop, well, he was really cocky, wasn't he?" And that's not necessarily true all the time. A lot of it has to do with being in control. Now, when I first became a deputy, like I was telling you, and we only had 3 guys in the zone on a midnight shift sometimes, which wasn't very often, by the way, but every now and then, you had to be in control. When you went to calls, even when you had full zones, you were in Hollywood all by yourself.
Yeah.
When you went to calls, you had to be in control. Because if you're not in control and you let it get out of hand, then you get hurt and you get killed.
Right,
and
absolutely.
people don't know what that's like to be surrounded by 200 or 300 people who really don't like you in a bad neighborhood when you're trying to arrest someone.
Right.
So you have to stay in control all the time. Sometimes people confuse that, being in control, with being cocky.
Right.
And you and I both know that it depends on the situation you're in, how you want to be and what you want to be.
Right.
So
You direct the outcome of that call by however you decide to be at that moment.
But it's your demeanor
Right.
a lot of times.
Right.
I remember at the airport, I went to a drunken guy call, and he was bad, and it was in Terminal 1. And when I got there, of course, there's a whole lot of people sitting outside the gateway waiting to get on an airplane. They're sitting right there. And I had to get in this guy's face to chill him out.
Right.
And then he still got smart with me. Even though I tried to back him down verbally, he got smart with me. And, of course, with me, that's a major mistake.
Right.
Ended up throwing him on the ground, handcuffing him and stuff. And I stood up, and all these people, when I looked around, there were 50 people sitting there with their eyes open like. So I looked at him and I said, you know, when you arrest someone, there's not a nice way to do it. And they're all going, shaking their head.
That's funny. Yeah, it is true, though. We have to be in control of the situation. If somebody knows that if you don't put yourself in control of the situation, it's not because we're cops and we
can push
abuse
people
the power,
around.
we push
Yeah,
everybody
no.
around, right? It's not because of that. It's because we cannot let the situation get out of control. We can't let people dictate how the call is going to end. We cannot let that. And when I'm not saying every call that we go to, we have to be like that, but I am saying that the ones that we do go to, if they sense that one little point of weakness where they're already on that path, they know that they're pushing buttons and they're looking for certain signs for you. And all you got to do is show that one moment of weakness, and they can overpower you and take you. I mean, this misconception that people are armed or unarmed when people go to, like, let's say law enforcement officers shoot somebody, but he didn't have a gun. Depending on the circumstances, one of the favorite sayings, and I know you've heard it before, is every call that you go to involves a weapon. Every call. Every call involves a weapon. Yours.
Exactly.
Yours.
There is a weapon on scene
Yes,
at all times.
absolutely. And I'm not saying, that gives us, just carte blanche to just shoot at people. But people don't really think about how a lot of the times the mindset of the other person is to get to that weapon. They know, and that's why if you're not in control of the situation, if you're not in control of the incident at the time, you give them enough time to think about it, and they're watching you, and they know.
Well, the average person also doesn't know that people in prison practice getting your weapon.
Yeah, well, that's another.
They actually do that.
That's a whole nother.
They actually practice getting your weapon.
Yeah.
So
it's not everybody, but like I said, there are. We don't know when it's going to be that person. We don't have neon signs on their head saying, "I'm the one that's going to take the weapon and kill you with it today." Just like last week when I talked about Paul Ryan.
Yeah,
Paul Ryan was killed with his own weapon. Nobody gave him any reason to think that he wasn't going to go home that day, but the perp knew that he wasn't going home that day,
and he planned it.
So, and that's just it. We have no way of knowing that.
Well, another thing too is that, and this was from a personal experience of mine when I shot and killed a guy, but people think that we want to get, especially the activists nowadays, they think we want to go out and shoot somebody. We're just dying to do they really believe that when I'm going to work and I'm strapping on that gun belt, I'm going to say, hey, I'm looking in the mirror, I'm going out and shoot me a person of color today, by God. No, that's the last thing I want to do. Yeah. Because now I got to go before a grand jury. All these people are going to judge me. I got to give them my gun. They take my gun, they shoot it, and they compare the bullets and ballistics, and your family and your whole life is turned upside down. Yeah. And you don't know how you're going to come out of it.
Why would you want to
even
plan
if you know
that?
It's a good shooting, because you kind of know you should know, but it's kind of a scary thing. And do they really believe that that's what we do, that we put this gun belt on and say shit like that? Mm. No.
Also,
because we're human,
right, and
we want to go home at the end of the day.
Right. Also, the misconception, not necessarily the misconception, but when a law enforcement officer tells you to do something, just do it. The time of interaction is not the time to plead your case.
No, and you're right about that too, because what do people think? Oh, I don't have to.
Right.
You can't make me. Well, I don't have to do that. If I have rights, No, if I tell you to go stand over there, I'm telling you for a reason.
Right. Once you cross over that threshold, there's a time when you still have rights, but now this is my incident. Now you got to do what I'm telling you.
I was on a traffic stop one night in North Palm Beach, and this guy was standing between the cars, and I said to him, "Get up here on the curb in the sidewalk." And we were parked in the street. I had stopped him, and he was standing between the cars. I was up on the sidewalk where I was supposed to be.
Right.
And I told him, he says, "Why? You can't tell me what to do." I said, "Well, you could just stand there, and if a guy comes along and hits the back of my car, and my car hits your cars, he's going to crush your legs, and you'll never walk again. But other than that, just stand right there if you want to." And he looked at me. I said, "Now, do you understand why I'm trying to tell you to get up here on the curb, please?"
Yeah.
And he, okay. And we all know what happened to Dan.
Yeah, Dan Hodis.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he lost his legs just like that.
Yeah.
But he didn't have a choice. There was no room. There was no sidewalks where he was on the interstate. It was just a ramp.
Right.
But I never forgot that. I never forgot that.
Yeah, Dan that was a very bad incident. I mean, but that happens all the time with the troopers on 95. I mean, I can never understand how that happens. But I don't know. Anything's possible. But getting back to the point of listening to what an officer tells you, just listen. There's a reason. You're on the other side. You're thinking, "Oh, let me go. I'm just going to get you my wallet." No, don't get your wallet. You're still just thinking in your mind, "I'm just going to get my wallet." There's a bazillion things going off in our mind. Don't get your wallet for the reason why we don't. So when we say, whoa, don't get your wallet, hold on for a minute. You got to stop and hold on for a minute. It's not because, we don't believe, there are things going on that
we want to bully him, and that's not.
Yeah,
that's the farthest thing from the truth.
Yeah, yep. Compliance is the easiest thing, not just because we think we're the boss. And
when you're getting arrested, 90% of these things that we see where the people claim, "Oh, the cops killed this guy, they were arrested him, and they got him on the ground." Dude, all he had to do was stop resisting and comply.
Yeah.
That's they yell, "Oh, I'm putting my arm behind my back and No, you're not. You know you're not. You're still resisting. You're still fighting." And people don't understand how hard it is to get anyone handcuffed that doesn't want to be handcuffed, even a small female, for one of us to take her, unless you want to punch her in the face. And, of course, if you do that, then everybody's going to scream and yell because you punched her in the face.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, they don't come easy.
There's a lot of the diversionary things that guys will do to people don't understand the reasoning to certain things. I mean, not punching in the face, but because people, when people have it in their mind that they're not going anywhere, I mean, it's amazing some of the power that some of these little people have. It's crazy. It's crazy. You think it's easy. Okay, they're on the ground. You can put handcuffs on. But when they're fighting you because they do not want their freedoms taken away, they don't want their freedom to walk around. You know, they fight to the.
Dude, I have seen where, and you've seen it too, where there's 3 or 4 cops trying to get a guy handcuffed, and they can't get his arms behind his back because he locks him in front of him and lays on him, and I mean, it's just crazy. Yeah, people just don't think. They just don't get it, and of course, some of the people don't get it because they don't want to get it.
Yeah, yeah. The majority, like I said, the majority of people would just have to comply and know there's a reason for it. It's not because we're wanting to boss you around. We don't, not because we're taking advantage of the badge or want to be bullies or whatever. We just want to go home. We just want you to do what you got to do so we can move on to the next step and get done with what we got to do and move on. I mean, it's time consuming as it is. And now I got to wrestle you, and now I got to do use of force, and now I got to do. Well, we don't do it anymore anyway. The sergeants do it, but still, I mean, who wants to go through all that? I just want to get through from point A to point B. Listen, we go somewhere. We go to a call. We determine a crime is made. You go to jail. It should be just that easy. We're there in an official capacity. And your news lawyer self, because you're a lawyer because you watch so much news, knows how to defend yourself and know you have rights. Think you're gonna. This isn't the place to defend it. This isn't the place to fight it. This isn't the place to argue it.
No.
If you know what, if you got a problem with me giving you the ticket, you know what, the next step is the court. If you got a problem with me arresting you, the next step is the court. Go to the courts and plead your case. And if you shouldn't have been arrested, the judge will say, you shouldn't have been arrested. You're not guilty. Boom. Out the door.
Yep.
If you didn't deserve the ticket, the judge will say, dismissed. But we've got a job to do. Listen, we are law enforcement. We are that thin blue between civility and anarchy. That line breaks, total chaos. Whoever wants whatever they want, they're going to rape, pillage, all that other stuff. You know the stories, and you definitely don't want that. So it's just amazing. People just got to comply. That's all. So what I had said to you earlier when we were just discussing the show prep is that lose control of the incident and you lose control of your the outcome of the call, and more than likely will lose your life because that person is going to want to get to your weapon and take you out because they want to do anything they can. So if they're fighting you because of that, they already want out of this situation, and once it gets to a certain level, they're going to do what they got to do to get out of it, and it'll be whatever means they want.
And you know what's funny is the people that fight us and resist us and give us a hard time, if the following week we get a call that there was an accident and that they cut themselves real bad or something, and it happened to be that same person that hated you so much and gave you such a hard time, they don't realize that you're the same guy that's going to come there and put a bandage on that wound and keep them from dying, or put a tourniquet on their leg to keep them from losing their leg, because that's what we do. Day in and day out.
I just said that last week on last week's show. You can call me whatever you want. You can cuss me. You can,
That's probably where I heard it.
But you could do whatever you want. But tomorrow, if you call me, I'll answer the call. Because
I used to tell people this. I used to tell people when they'd say, I can't stand you cops, and I'd say, good. Next time you get robbed, call a cab and see if he'll help you out. See if a cab driver will. Just call up the cab, and when he gets there, say, hey, listen, that guy just robbed me. And he's going to look at you like you're crazy.
Yeah, it's all, and like I said, I
but that's what makes this job
fun. I love the job. It's taught me so much. There's there's so much out there than just to being a police officer than just wearing the badge, driving the car, pulling over people and giving tickets and taking people to jail. There's so much more, and I think that it's helped me more today as a person than if I wouldn't have become a police officer. I don't know. I don't even want to think about where, what, who, whatever I'd be doing. So, but it's a great job, and it's a demanding job, and it's a tough job, and it's under the microscope all the time. We're continuously scrutinized, and we just take the punches and keep moving.
Yeah.
That's all we could do.
Yeah, it's a good thing I became a cop, because back in the day there wasn't much money in kickboxing. You know what I mean? I got $50.
You were too short for
$50
kickboxing,
on a trophy, and that sent me on my way.
You would only kick their shins.
No, I kicked them pretty hard and pretty high. But still, it wasn't much money in it.
Yeah, well, the job today is good. It's we got a lot of work to do as far as the money issue. Because you're talking about the money, but I mean
No, I'm talking about being able to do something other than
become a police officer. But I'm saying you were saying the money wasn't that good.
No,
in
it wasn't.
kickboxing.
I couldn't have made it.
The money's okay in police.
You
work,
don't become a cop for the money anyway.
You don't.
That's not why I became a cop.
That's right. But when we do become police officers, that I don't think we're paid nearly enough. Like it's a priceless job. I don't think you can put a money cap on a law enforcement officer's job, because we're going out there every day, putting our lives on the line.
That's right.
We deal with people's problems, and then we go home and we deal with our own problems. They call us, we take care of them, we leave, we go home, and now we got to deal. Who do we call?
And we're not very good at our own problems.
No, we're not.
We can tell everybody else what to do with theirs, though.
We're not, because we that's where we get to release the day of energy that we get pent up.
I guess so, huh?
But it's worked out good for me. I mean, so far, so good. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and take a break. So as a reminder, still nobody called in. Where's all your friends?
He could text me. That's what we get for having these fancy text phones now.
I need to go on Facebook and start.
But I'm glad he was watching me tonight. So
some kind of app that does something. Disconnect somebody's phone for a little while or something. Not watching, no. Anyway, as a reminder, Copservations is broadcast live every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Copservation Facebook page and Copservation YouTube channel. And also, and I told you, right, the Copservation Twitter page that we have now. So, and you can follow us there at Copservations _ Go there and follow us. We need a big following there. We're going to take a little break. What?
Weren't we getting on iHeartRadio too pretty soon?
We're working on that. We need something called an RSS or something like that we're working with Deanna, the girl that actually. So I'm not very.
That's her job, so that's what she.
Yeah, I'm not very savvy when it comes to the technical part of it.
Okay.
But
no.
You have if you have a question, comment, or a story you'd like to share, join the conversation by giving the podcast studio a call, toll free, 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677. And don't forget, you can also instant message. Would you stop? Don't forget, you can also instant message your questions and comments on our Facebook page. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Put the keys down, Kevin.
But
I'm gonna drive home.
There are several warning signs present that you shouldn't be driving.
My text to emoji ratio has gotten a little out of hand.
A little?
Yep, I'm definitely gonna call a ride home.
Listen, you're my friend.
I noticed you haven't really been yourself recently.
Yeah, I feel like something's up.
How are you?
Are you okay?
Is there anything you want to talk about?
I just want to know how you're feeling.
And listen, even if you don't know what to say, I'm here to talk.
No matter what you're going through,
I just want you to know I'm here.
I've got your back. When you want to talk, I'm here.
Awkward.
To talk to our host, call the podcast studio toll-free at 888-511-COPS. That's 888-511-2677. Now back to our host.
All right, welcome back to Observations. The discussion tonight has been interacting with the police, and the police interacting with you. While we were taking the break, we were reminded that we're having a little bit too much fun tonight, and time is like just flying by. So we decided to go ahead and skip ahead to the end of the show since we've been here long enough. I think we had a pretty good discussion tonight. So, as always, Gary, it was a lot of fun today.
Yeah, it was.
I had a good time. Well, hopefully Rob will be back next week. Next week we got a really good show planned.
With the DEA guy.
The guy Gary is he really knows his stuff. He's really a good guy. I met him through a production group, one of the talk groups that we go and do like reads of screenplays and stuff. Good guy. He's really a good guy, and he knows his stuff, and he's retired, and we got a really good show planned. So I hope everybody tunes in. It's going to be a really good show. It has a lot to do with narcotics and the opioid epidemic that we're having and stuff like that. So should be I think that's something that really needs to be addressed, and we might have a couple of shows on that sometime. Might even do some field work, not this coming week, but eventually in the future, go out and do some.
Well, there's some lawsuits going on with the drug companies.
Yeah.
And they're proving that they actually marketed this stuff with the intent of selling millions of pills.
Wow.
I mean, when you get a small town in Kentucky that's got an 800 population and they selling 8,000 pills a month.
Yeah.
Through doctors' firms that are all over the place there.
Yep.
Something's not right.
Yep.
And the drug company, somebody in the drug company should be going, wait a minute, what's wrong with this picture?
Yeah.
How come they're doing this? But
yeah, I would really like to have a lot of time to be out there and do some investigative reporting and then make like a whole show on that. Would be so cool. There's never enough time in my day or week or month or I'm always
60 Minutes or somebody did it for you, so just look it up.
All right. Before we go, I want to thank Danny. Danny, thanks for wearing all the hats today. I appreciate you. And
You're welcome.
You didn't chime in enough. I'm not happy with that. And wait till Rob comes back. We got, with this new toy that we could chime in now. Now we have two microphones. There's actually one on the audio board too. So when I'm in there,
You won't keep Tony's mouth shut.
Oh no.
We should have fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. But the real challenge will be seeing if I can get Rob to control the teleprompter with his right hand, talk on the mic, and then run this thing with the left hand. If I can get people to call in. No, I'm just kidding. No, Rob won't have to control it. It'll all go back to normal. But anyway, but it was a really good show. I had a good show. Rob, hopefully you're listening, and if you are, like I said, I hope you feel better soon, and we see you next week. Okay. As always, before we sign off, we like to honor our fallen brothers and sisters. Tonight we honor Corporal Thomas J. DeRue, Sr. of the South Bend Police Department, whose end of watch was on this day, November 11th, back in 1974. Corporal DeRue was shot and killed while responding to an armed robbery. As he arrived on the scene, the suspect exited the business and shot him before he could exit his patrol car. Corporal DeRue was shot once in the chest and once in the abdomen and died from internal bleeding at the scene. The suspect was later apprehended. The suspect was convicted of second-degree murder and sentenced to life. His sentence was later reduced to 15 to 25 years, which he served. Since his release, he's been in and out of prison for 8 other felonies. His last sentence was for 7 years on October 9, 2013, for stealing meat from a South Bend grocery store. Corporal DeRue had served with the South Bend Police Department for 6 years. At the time, he was survived by his expectant wife. Before I go, got a little something special. I want to share something with you that was sent to me a couple of days ago from my sister up in New York, Tina. She shared a poem with me that her young son, Adam, my nephew obviously had written. It's a pretty good.
How old is he?
He just turned. Oh, she'll kill me! How dare you ask me that? And his birthday just came.
My mic work? Yeah, okay. Yeah,
she's gonna kill me.
She is, because you had to say that on air.
I know. Why did
Hey,
you
Tony?
say that? Yeah.
How old is he?
Yeah. Hurry up and text Tina. No.
Well, what, like 10 or 5?
No. He's, I want to say 16.
He's school-aged.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He's school age. Oh, there's the text. What is it, Tina? 15.
15, there you go. Are they in New York?
Yeah. Long
Oh,
Island.
he's going to get to bring marijuana to school then, huh?
Oi.
Drink a little beer on the side.
She's coming to visit for Thanksgiving, so I'm going to bring her here so
Oh,
she
great.
can kick your ass, you know.
Good. I've talked to her on the phone before, but...
No. Anyway, she shared this poem that Adam had written. I was really caught off guard. I got it. She sent it to me the other day. It was a really busy day at work. I think we had the double homicide in North Lauderdale that time. That in the morning. I don't know if you heard about it. It was a bad day. Very busy. So I didn't have time to read it when she sent it to me. But then the day slowed down, and I had that downtime that we cherish so much when we're out on the road, when we finally get it. And I read it, and I was very amazed, and I'm very proud. I just want to share it with you. So I'm going to say I'm going to let you hear it, and hope everybody else likes it and comments on the Facebook page or something about it. It takes less than a minute to make a split decision, to say how you will live with every breath you give, holding close your values where you protect and serve, always with integrity, and never will you swerve. It is these highest standards that help you grow and shine as you take your place in uniform as the part of the thin blue line. Isn't that awesome?
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, very proud. Awesome job, Adam. I'm very proud of you. Thanks for sending it, Tina. Be sure to tune in next Thursday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on our Copservation podcast Facebook page and the Copservation YouTube channel, and now on Twitter at Copservations_. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, till next week, stay safe and God bless.